Well, good afternoon. It is the month of April, and we are hosting our Facebook Live. I really enjoy these events and so glad that we've carried them over into another year. And hopefully, you all have enjoyed the opportunity to meet multiple people within our organization and hear about the variety of places and spaces that we are doing our work. And so today I'm really excited to have Nayeli Mendenball with us. She is our family engagement and support specialist and has been with us for 6 months now. The first role like this within our organization, structured to intentionally make sure that families are partnering with us and have supports and resources as we work with their children. And Nayeli, I can share that my very first career job in early learning was as a parent coordinator. And it was for an early learning childcare program where I was able to support families with their volunteer engagement within their childcare centers. And so very similar roles. It was very near and dear to my heart, the work that you get to do.
So you know what it entails.
Yes. Yes. Well, and the interesting thing for me is that when I took the job, I didn't know that the majority of the families were Spanish speaking. And so one of the first things I had to do was identify interpreters because although I understand Spanish, I don't necessarily speak it because I have kind of a lazy tongue around it. And so I was able to bring in interpreters, which was new for that organization and really help the families feel connected to individuals who spoke their language, understood their culture, and really helped with their engagement. So I know you're doing similar work. So thank you very much for joining us here at Launch.
Well, I'm very happy to be a part of Launch. I'm enjoying the work that I'm doing there.
Yeah, and this month is Volunteer Appreciation Month. So we have been thanking our board and other volunteers in our organization. Next week is Teacher Appreciation Week, and so we have some special appreciations and celebrations coming up for our teachers at Launch. There's been a variety of holidays and celebrations that we've acknowledged. Our Jewish community members have celebrated Passover. Our Muslim community members have celebrated Ramadan or are celebrating Ramadan, and just a variety of celebrations that we have been a part of, helping to make sure that our children and families are supported through those celebrations, that they're acknowledged through those celebrations. And it's been really great to have those cultural experiences at Launch. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about, what do you enjoy about your work at Launch?
I think the part that I've been really enjoying is getting to know the people I'm working with, both staff and families. Everyone is very dedicated and caring, and I think we go, at least from what I've seen, I think we go out of our way to really make our families feel safe and welcomed in our programs. And I really like that. I'm not on site much, but when I am, I love seeing one of the best days, I think, is when I get to see the little ones having so much fun and enjoying their learning. And I always have to say, I learned something new from them, even though they're as tiny as they are. And so those are the fun days when I do get to go on site like that. The other building that I've had the opportunity to establish with families. For the most part, I'd worked on the east side, so it's been really nice to just feel welcomed by families in some of our neighborhoods. I spend a lot of time on Beacon Hill, and so I've met and been able to establish, because of the language skill, with our Spanish-speaking families there and with some of the other schools. And so I like the projects that I'm working on as well. And I'll tell you a little bit more about some of the stuff that we are doing in terms of making family engagement a bit more concrete. So I'll tell you about one really exciting project for me that we're hoping to get started by the end of early summer, end of May kind of timeline.
Well, before you share that, would you be willing to tell us a little bit more about your background and what brought you to Launch?
So as you mentioned, this is a new position for Launch. And I think when you have new opportunities like that, there's always so much excitement around those things, because for me personally, it's like, oh, I get to do new stuff. And so the idea of coming to a new position like this was new for me, just because for the past 10 years plus, I had been working on the east side at a school district. And most of the work that I had done there was with secondary level parents, middle school, high school age. And so what I noticed in my time there is that I think a lot of the family engagement that happens at that level tends to be more of reactionary and a little bit more complicated, right? Because parents and the students are at an age where sometimes they don't see eye to eye. And so I wanted to have this opportunity of establishing connections with school staff, with just the system itself, where parents could see and experience sort of a positive and preventive kind of aspect to getting people started on the right foot, if you will. And so I think that when we have those opportunities, then it creates sort of that positive feeling. And my hope is that it allows people to want to continue on that, and that actually becomes sort of, oh, when my child is in middle school or high school, that I feel comfortable approaching the school staff, anything that's related to my child's learning experience. And so seeing that this was happening at Launch was I thought something that I wanted to be a part of and help set up.
Very important, building those relationships and partnerships with parents and families to their kids' education is critical. So speaking of that, at Launch, since the pandemic has been a reality for us, our families haven't been able to engage in the same way as they had previously. Unfortunately, they're not necessarily able to come into the classrooms as much. They're not really allowed to be in the school buildings as much. Hopefully some of that will ease up next year. But we found some creative ways to engage families, and even some creative ways to engage families in new ways than we ever have in the past. And one example for me has been story time virtually, right? Having the opportunity to read to children with their parents over Zoom has been a new way of engaging our families, and many have been receptive to that. So would you share some of the ideas you have for family engagement and some of the creativity you're bringing to Launch?
And so I'll add to the virtual piece. I think we're in that transition period, right, Angela, where we had to transition from in-person to virtual, and now we're doing it back again. And I think that one of the things I've really enjoyed seeing is some of our sites doing also virtually is cooking nights. And so I think that's been really cool, because what I've noticed is there's always a cultural, I know we started on a cultural note, celebrating the diversity that we have in our organization. And so I really like seeing how our sites are bringing in families, again, virtually, but making it personal by taking a cultural recipe or something for everyone to participate in. And so that's still going on, as you mentioned. I think another thing also virtual that we did, but because we brought in the parent voice earlier in I guess late winter, February, we had kindergarten transition nights, which were based on parent input, wanting to know, what do I do with my rising kindergartner? What does this mean if I'm moving from Launch to one of the Seattle area schools? What do I have to do? And so with that information, we created 2 to 3 nights of virtual sort of a Q&A. We collaborated with Seattle Public Schools that gave us some of the information that they were sharing virtually with their own families. And so we were able to put that together for the families who wanted to join in, and they did. And so I think we had somewhere about 40 families, 40 to 60 families who participated in that throughout our different communities. And so that was really nice. I hope that we can continue to do that. And it's sort of in that transition of, from virtual to in person again. I had mentioned that one of the new ideas is expanding our services for families, not only the families that we serve, but the families in the communities that we serve. And that is, we want to bring new parents together, sort of focusing on the birth to 3-year-old, which would be new for us. And that is, we would be partnering with Program for Early Parent Support, better known as PEPS. And so we're trying to, we're recruiting actually families for our summer and fall cohort, hoping that our summer can start off in late May. The idea is to have this 8-week program where we're going to build community for new parents to find peer support, also get resources, not just in terms of materials, but we're partnering up with Westside Baby Corner, who's also would be servicing through us, and just complementing what different groups do with what we do, and bringing it in all together and having that collective impact, and learning new ways to bond for all of us, families with their babies, the families with us. And that this is really, it really truly would be sort of a cradle to the future, to career for some of these children. So that's the new program that we have coming soon. And so you'll see some of the advertisement places to get a hold of us, so that if you're interested or have friends and families who could benefit from this, put them in touch with us at launch, and we'll take care of you guys.
Are we advertising in multiple languages? Because PEPS has not historically been a multicultural program, right? It's typically been for parents who are home during the day, can take their kids to the little neighborhood gathering and build relationships. And so communities of color and communities where there may be a single parent and so forth have not typically been able to access these services. But I know we're looking to put a multicultural, more inclusive spin on this.
And so what's been really cool in working with PEPS is, and for what it is with COVID, there's always that silver lining that everybody's had to adapt. And in that process of adapting, new ideas of connecting have come up. So there's other ways to support families, who are traditionally not been able to participate in these types of programs. We are looking at doing, at least sort of as in pilot, if you will, be able to do some of the programming in Spanish if we recruit a larger, if one of our cohorts tends to be of the Spanish speaking background, then that would be something that we could do. They are doing groups through WhatsApp. So technology is going to be very big. We may be doing some hybrid, giving people the option to participate in person or virtually, depending on how comfortable people feel in this time where we're kind of slowly moving into what the new normal will be, right? And so I think that's what's been really cool about all of this, that we've all come up with new ideas, and it all works so that those traditional, the families who traditionally weren't able to because of work hours and just the model didn't necessarily fit, it becomes flexible where we can serve a broader audience.
Wow, well, we are definitely living into our values of inclusivity and equity and building relationships. And so I really appreciate that you have joined us at launch, and you're helping us think of innovative and creative and adaptive ways to serve our families and make sure families are engaged with the learning experiences of their children. So
I'm
thank
happy to
you.
be here. I've joined a really, like I said, a really great working team who reflect and model my own personal values. So glad to be here and working with you all.
All right. Well, thank you. Well, we are finished with our April Live, and I look forward to seeing our staff, our families, our community members back here in May. Thank you.
Thank
Have a
you.
great week. Bye.